Hi, my name is Pip Coombs. I was given your phone number to find out more about becoming an animal physio. Last night my endocrinologist emailed me to confirm that all of my scans and blood tests and everything came back clear, which officially means that I'm 10 years cancer-free, and I was replying thank you to him for, taking the time out of his day to check my blood tests and let me know, even though I don't currently have an appointment. And it just kind of dawned on me that thank you is so inadequate because he saved my life. And so I wrote back, thank you for everything. And he wrote back, my great pleasure. And I was just, and still am, a little bit overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he did for me. It's quite surreal because it's taken, 12 and a half years from the start to now to get to this point. And it's kind of crazy to think that theoretically that is behind me now, because the type of cancer I had, the recurrence rate is 20% before 10 years, and they think that technically I already had one recurrence. I feel like it never went away. But, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I don't really know what else to say. I'm so grateful that I'm alive. I'm so grateful that he saved my life. As it seems to always be now, it is raining again, and that is kind of good news for me because it means that I am going to be inside working on this, which is the third book of the Phoenix series. Once again, NaNoWriMo goes by the wayside to editing, and I just can't seem to get my timing right with NaNoWriMo. Plus, I feel like a month is a really long time to ask me to focus on one project. I just don't seem to be capable of doing it, and my life never seems to facilitate a pathway to writing for a month. But whatever. So I'm in editing mode again, and I'm trying to get everything ready to format, as I said, because on one of the many sites that my cover designer is listed on, she is back and available from the end of November, which is in about 5 or 6 days. So I'm hoping to hear from her about whether we can proceed with the cover as planned for the series. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go down different avenues, and I mean, that's an expense, but maybe it's a warranted expense, but it's hard to tell because I haven't really done any marketing for the books, which has been deliberate, and I know it's stupid, but life. Anyway, so today I am working on this. I've got to meet up with a friend briefly, but hopefully I'll get a ton of editing done because it's bucketing down outside and there is nothing else to do. I was nearly going to go and help at the wombats today, but it just didn't work out. And I'm kind of glad I didn't go because when it is raining like this, they stay in their burrows that they've been designed for them at this facility. If they were burrows out in the bush, they would probably be flooded by now. But the trouble is they are using their burrows as a bathroom, which makes the cleanup process, yeah. Anyway, so I'm sure when I'm there next week, it'll be just as feral because it's going to be raining for the next 257,000 days. Anyway, so I have been working a little bit on Project Australia, and that has kind of made me a little bit obsessed with the bush that I can see right behind the camera out this window, and it has also meant that I've made some purchases, which hopefully you can see without some glare. This one is a black cockatoo, and this one is a little blue wren, and these are beautiful artworks created by a local artist called Jess Hutchinson, and I've just become obsessed with the black cockatoo. It's something I've never really seen. I've certainly never seen them when I lived in Sydney, but I never really had the experience with them before, other than maybe when I was down here visiting and they just zip across the car. But they're not an animal that you see very often. They're very skittish, and I never realized how well they camouflage into the bush until the other day when we heard something. We thought it was a small animal in distress on the ground, and then eventually we saw it in the trees, and it was so camouflaged, but I'm a bit obsessed with black cockatoos, and so I'm finding that I'm getting drawn to all things Australian. And I know I was thinking about moving to Bowral, even though I was struggling with the concept of getting away from the coast, even though I'm not going because it's raining, and I'm not going that often to the coast anyway because, you know, you got to get stuff done. But it's nice to have it, you know, 5 minutes down the road, and it's so lovely to have the bush just 10 minutes walk down the road. Not even. I can literally see it from where I am now. But if I move to Bowral, those things go away, and I just feel like while I'm writing Project Australia, this is the perfect place to be, because if I need inspiration, or if I'm lacking a description, or if I need inspiration of some sort, I can just walk 5 minutes to the bush or drive 5 minutes to the most crystal clear water in Australia, and it's going to be hard to walk away from this place. I still don't know that I'm actually going to be able to do it. It's hard now that I've got things like the wombats and stuff like that set up. I guess maybe I have to give it a little bit more time to find more of a social groove here. That's really the main reason why I was thinking of moving to Bowral, because it has a much more active social scene, and it's still far enough away from Sydney, but it's a little bit closer. But anyway, so today is editing day. I'm trying to think how many words I ended up writing in NaNoWriMo. I think it was about 8,000, but I don't seem to ever be able to get it together for NaNoWriMo, but it always seems to coincide with editing periods, so just is what it is that I didn't get there. I'm not sure if I explained it before, so I will now. Project Australia is basically trying to capture the Australian landscape and the Australian wildlife and mix in with it fantasy and magic elements that kind of bring it all to life for people who are within Australia and people who obviously aren't and haven't experienced the beautiful land and animals that we have here. So it does incidentally work out really well that I'm now working with wombats, so I'm going to know a lot more about wombats hopefully, and emus, because there are also emus that I'm working with, although they're quite scared, and the bigger ones, I'm scared of them because they're quite pecky. But this is like a really perfect place to live, because I mean, like I said before, there are black cockatoos that I never experienced before. I often open my door at night and there is a kangaroo eating my grass on my front lawn, like a meter away from my door, which is just insane to have, although it's not happening as much now because they're building up more in the area that we are in, and that means that the native habitat is being destroyed, sadly. But I am experiencing more and more of the Australian wildlife and native landscapes, and I hope to take myself on some writers' retreats and explore a little bit more of that, so that I can really try and capture that. And I have probably written about 2 or 3 chapters. I ended up rewriting the first chapter, but then last night I found some notes on my phone about some ideas about how to make it work that actually I quite like, that I forgot about, and so now I've got to try and work out how to incorporate those. But for now I want to try and focus on the Phoenix series and get it edited, get the 3rd book out. And I just wonder if this is a thing like with other authors who are writing series, whether you get distracted by other ideas partway through because you know how the series is going to go and you know how it's going to end, and sure, maybe you don't know all the little bits in between, but you kind of like want to move on to the next thing. It's like, slow down, cowboy, you haven't finished the first thing. But maybe that's just me. But you know, it's nice to start having other ideas, and there's 2. So there's Project Australia and the Raven Project that I have been really thinking a lot about and trying to work out how I'm going to make them work. And they're kind of, particularly Project Australia, I think is going to take a little bit more time to kind of make it work. And I think it's kind of good that I'm having the ideas now while I still got 3 more books to write of the Phoenix series, even though I have got chunks written for each of the final 3 books. But it gives me time to kind of think of ideas and kind of get it working, which is part of the reason why it took me so long to write the Phoenix series, because I started and the first book actually ended up becoming, the first 2 books and obviously got divided up and a lot of other things happened that weren't originally happening. But there was a time when I'd written it and I was just like, oh, I need to stop and like really get the details of this world and like everyone's family trees and the street names and city maps and stuff done so that I can be consistent through the series and not make a dog's breakfast of this. Anyway, so today is editing day and udon, which is always a nice thing, but I better get to it before it is lunchtime and I haven't done any editing, which would be standard. I just drove home with a spider in the car. I've only one other time had a bigger spider in the car, and that time I actually climbed screaming out of the other side of the car. This was unpleasant, but a small spider, but it kept disappearing and reappearing and very stressful. It was also just right after I'd just gotten off the phone to an animal physio who was telling me the process involved to become an animal physio for an hour, and like I totally appreciate her time and I was very interested in the topic, but I'm still gonna have to work with humans in order to maintain that qualification and do a 2-year degree at the cost of £12,000 basically. And I mean, this is just like burnout rearing its ugly head because, you know, I have lunch with my friend and then I have an hour conversation about work stuff and I could have a nap. Like, I really could. Burnout's a bitch. So I don't know what I'm going to do for work. Every time I think about going back to physio, it's literally like my whole body tenses and I just can't do it. But you know, like there's a point at which once you've realized it's soul crushing, you can't go back and let that happen again. But I don't know what the alternative is, and I guess I'm gonna have to work that out quite soon rather than later. I guess I better start editing this book and hope that this is my way out of physio. Oh, jeez Louise. So the shitty news is that the reason I've been so tired is because I've had a massive infection and my stupid dentist that I've been to 8 times in 3 months missed it, and now the infection is spreading into my sinuses, and tomorrow I have to have another massive root canal. I have to have the whole thing all in one day, and I have to have it done by a specialist, and it's going to cost me about $3,000. So thanks to incompetent dentists everywhere.